The subject in Parashat Devarim is the subject of rebuke. To tell someone off, to at least tell somebody where they've gone wrong, and to help them become better people. That's obviously the idea. And in the Parashat Devarim, Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Jewish people the different things that they've done wrong with regards to the judges. He tells them what they've done wrong with regards to the spies. And you know what happens here is something which is fascinating, something which is amazing. You know, as a rabbi community, not once, not twice, I maybe can count on over 100 times, 200 times the times I remember when people in the community feel bad about something, they turn around to somebody else and they tell them off. So they tell them off for coming late, they tell them off for speaking too loud, being the chazan too quiet, taking somebody else's seat, and then, all kinds of other things that people at work or in the community or at the kiddush, or they're always telling people off. And what is the common reaction when somebody's being told off? Deny. What else? Upset. Right? Now, I can count on one hand, maybe, the times when people said, thank you so much for letting me know. Thank you for paying my attention to the Chazaku Baruch, okay, that's good. I didn't realize I'll set it straight. Most time the reaction is, what? How dare you say that to me? What chutzpah do you have? Or look at him, who does he think he is? How dare him say that to me? Let him go fix himself first. And all kinds of things, and then people can get very upset, or people can say, I'm never ever coming back to this shul again. Why? Because somebody told them something. So normally people are very, very hard to accept rebuke. And we're going to discuss this today. Why is it? Why people find it hard to accept rebuke? And what can we do in order to both learn to accept rebuke in a better way, but also to learn how to give rebuke? Because one is connected to the other. If you know how to give rebuke, there's a good chance that the other person will be able to accept it in a much better way. And this applies to everyone. It applies to people who are married and they want to tell their spouse and share something with them, rather than getting offended and saying, you don't appreciate me, or you don't care, or you only complain, etc. That they'll say, thank you for letting me know. If it's with parents and kids, many times parents want to tell their kids something. And yes, I know when a child's 3 or 4, it's okay. It passes by, the kids just hear and they move on. But then when your kids are older, it can be a whole tug between the parent and the child. So it's so relevant for every person, specifically also not only in parenting and marriage, also in work. Sometimes we need to say something to our colleagues in the community. So this parasha teaches us a lot about how to rebuke, what to rebuke, etc. So, going back to the story over here, we see that Moshe Rabbeinu rebukes the Jewish people. How is their response? What do they say? Do they get upset? Do they protest? They're not upset. A miracle happens. The Jewish people, they're always complaining, and we read in previous parashiyot how they really can be obnoxious, and they can really only see the negative. You would think that after Moshe Rabbeinu, he tells them off, that they would say, explode and protest and say to Moshe Rabbeinu, who do you think you are? As we've seen in previous cases with Korach and with Datan and Aviram. And yet here the Jewish people accept, they take it, and it's even recorded for eternity. And the question is, how? Why? What was so unique about the rebuke of Moshe Rabbeinu in this week's parasha, which the Jewish people took in such a special way, and in a way that we can learn when we want to apply rebuking. Now, a person may say, before we continue, but 1 second, this whole shiur is not relevant to me. Why? Because I never tell people off. I never rebuke. By the way, is there anybody here that could say that? Nobody's on that level. Most of us, we tell people off. And not only do we tell people off, it's also actually halakha. If you look in the Rambam, you look in other areas, Code of Jewish Law, which talk about our responsibility towards somebody else when they do something wrong. A person can't say, you know what? I know that this person is not going to take it good, or he's going to get upset. So therefore, I'm just going to keep quiet. I'm not going to say anything. There are very lengthy laws, which we're not going to go into because there are restriction of time. But the Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam, they talk about how many times you need to rebuke. Is it once? Is it twice? Is it 3 times? Is it until the person fixes their ways? Yes, it mentions you shouldn't do it in public, and yes, it mentions you shouldn't humiliate the person, but there's definitely laws with regards to rebuking. Yes, if you know 100% that the person is not going to listen, then maybe it's better not to say something. But in many, many cases, the person might listen. In many cases, you don't know if the person is going to listen or not going to listen. So therefore, we do have an obligation to rebuke, number 1. Number 2, as was proved in this room a minute ago, we all rebuke whether it's halakha to do or not halakha to do. We sometimes we can't hold back and we rebuke. So therefore, it's so important to see what does this parasha teach us about rebuking, and more importantly, to implement it. Because it's one thing to learn about it, but then to actually apply it is much harder. So, first and foremost, you see, Moshe Rabbeinu, when he rebukes the Jewish people, he does it with tremendous respect. What does it mean that he does it with tremendous respect?
He doesn't point at them, he doesn't even name the sin.
That's right, 100%. If you look at the first part of the parasha, it says over here, these are the words which Moshe spoke to the Jewish people. So we read it before, in the plains of the Moab, east bank of Jordan. It says in the wilderness, in the sea of reeds, between Laban and Tofel, Chatzerot and Dizab. It's like the Torah is saying, when Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to the Jewish people, he was in these places. And it mentions a list of places where Moshe Rabbeinu was rebuking the Jewish people. And that's obviously not possible. It can't be that he was standing here, and here, and rebuking the Jewish people. But I know now with the football, it used to be that you had the World Cup, it was in one city, one place. Now they've said, no, the World Cup is spread. Mexico, Canada, and America. At least they're together. Apparently the next World Cup is going to be in Spain, Portugal, Argentina, Brazil, whatever. So like all over the world, you could be here. Where's the World Cup? It's here, it's here, it's here. But lahavdil over here, when we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu rebuking the Jewish people, the Torah says that he rebuked them here. How can that be? Good morning. It's impossible to be all over the place. It should be that he was in one place when he rebuked them. So why does the Torah say that he was in all these different places? So our rabbis tell us that actually they were standing in the desert. And the different names that Moshe Rabbeinu is mentioning over here, that the Torah is mentioning, are subtle hints to the places that the Jewish people made a mistake. So for example, it says over here, if you look in the last word, Dizahav. What is Dizahav? Dizahav means the place of gold. Why? Because their sin with the golden calf is something that Moshe Rabbeinu is alluding to, is hinting to. So many times when we rebuke a person, we tell him straight out. We say, you did this, and the person actually deflects and says, oh, I didn't do this, and we want to prove it to them even more. Say, no, this is exactly what you did, and we go into the full detail, telling the person off what they did. The person knows exactly what they did. You don't have to rub it in, and you don't have to describe it with the brightest of colors and strongest of descriptions to tell the person what they did. It's enough that you allude to something, and then the person understands what you say, and he sees the fact that you're ready to just say it with a bit of sensitivity and respect, then the person feels that you actually care for them, and it's not because you're trying to knock them and rub it in. So the first thing when it comes to rebuking a person, the person needs to feel that he is respected. The person needs to feel that you see them as a person, that you see them as somebody who has value and not somebody who is a problematic person. You know, it's like when a person maybe makes their shirt dirty. You don't tell a person, you're a dirty person, right? We say your shirt is dirty, we put it in the washing machine, we clean it, okay? You have a new shirt. But you're not a dirty person, it's the shirts. Same when a person made a mistake, he's not a bad person. The mistake needs to be fixed, but not the person himself. And that's the concept of respecting a person. You know, it says in Chassidut that when every single person has a special secret to oneself. What does it mean, a secret? Every person has their unique part that only they have and nobody else has. It's their gift to the world which needs to be revealed. Every person has a secret of what's special about them. It's not always obvious. You look at a crowd of people, 200 people, it just looks like 200 people. You can't necessarily say, this person is an amazing doctor, this person is a very, bright solicitor. You need to discover, you need to bring it out. And in the Hebrew language, secret is Raz. And Raz is numerical value of 207. What other word is numerical value of 207? Is the word light, or. Because when you discover somebody's secret, you enlighten the person, you make him shine. So the secret and the light is the same numerical value. When you come in to rebuke somebody, are you coming to put him in the dark, or are you coming to help him bring his light out? What is the objective of the rebuke, of the telling off?
No, to light.
To light the person up. How do you light the person up? By revealing his secret, by showing him where he is strong, where he is unique, that nobody else is. And the only way that you could do that is if you respect the person. If you look down at a person and you negate a person, then it's not going to work. So therefore Moshe Rabbeinu, he shows tremendous respect to the Jewish people by the fact that we read right at the beginning of the parasha, he doesn't mention explicitly what they did, how they sinned, rather he alludes to it. He mentions the place that they were, or uses a word that is synonymous, connected, relative to what they've done, which is a very important lesson for us. So when we want to rebuke someone and tell somebody, you don't have to go straight out and say to them, this is what you did, something, I have a bone to pick with you. You did, and you then go through the whole thing and you describe it vividly, with all descriptions. You don't have to do that. Start with something very small and show respect. And the respect is not only in the description of what you're telling the person what they did, it's a whole attitude. It's how you come to them. You know that research has shown that when people are having a conversation, a certain percentage of the message comes across from what you're actually saying, they're listening to the words, and a certain percent of the message comes across from the body language and from your presentation, how you're looking, and then what you're saying. How much do you think is the percentage of what they're actually saying, which passes on the message, and how much percentage is of the body language?
30, 70.
I'd say 90 times.
30.
Which one which?
The words and 70 the body language.
Okay.
I'd say 90 for the attitude and the body language.
So the answer is 93%. 93% is the attitude, is the body language. Only 7% at the minimum of what you're saying is what the person is taking. And sometimes people are, I got to repeat what I'm saying, and I got to say it again. Did you understand what I'm saying? And should I say it again? Hello, that's nearly not relevant. You can say it 100 times. You can use all the words that you want in the world. It's your attitude. Does the person feel that you respect them and that you see them with their value? Or do they think that you just look down at them and think that they're worthless and that they don't have any chance? So the first...
I think it depends also on the kind of person you have in front of you.
How will you react?
You have to adapt yourself to to the people you talk to.
Correct. But the thing is, you need to respect every single person.
Yeah, I agree. But I know from my job, because I do a lot of reviews to people, to my employees, that I cannot speak the same way to this person or to this person. It doesn't work like this.
So first of all, the fact that you can or cannot doesn't mean necessarily that it's right or wrong.
No, absolutely. What I say is that there's no one rule. You have to respect the person.
No, there's one rule, which is respecting every single person. And knowing that every single person, doesn't matter who they are, if they're senior or not senior, if they're smart or not smart, if they're dumb or not dumb, it doesn't matter. Every person is unique. Every person, Hashem gave them a gift that only they have, that nobody else in the world has. Hashem didn't make replicas. It's not like he says, okay, you and you're the same. If you don't do it, somebody else will do it. It's exactly equal. Otherwise, then why would Hashem make that person? He made that person to come and give his gift to the world. So sometimes somebody's gift and somebody's secret is so readily available, and therefore you respect the person more. When you speak to them, it's easier for you to respect them. And some people, their gift is more hidden and covered, and it's harder. But if you want to help this person and you want to bring them up to their potential, then you have to respect them. So we have to respect every single person. It's very hard. I agree with you that, how do you respect the guy who's cleaning the streets the same way you respect the Supreme Judge? Do they deserve the same respect?
The guy who's cleaning the street deserves more respect than
You see, maybe you can have that attitude, but for most people it's not like that. How do you respect the biggest footballer, right? If Ampabe, he was now over here, would you say, you know what, big deal, he's just a guy who kicks a ball. So because I need to respect him. No, if he was here, you would like, right? Why? He's just a regular person. You think he doesn't get angry? You think he doesn't lose it? You think he doesn't have his demons? You think he doesn't, do all the bad things that people do? I'm sure he does. So why does he deserve more respect than a simple person? It's what we've decided in our minds. We built, that this person deserves less respect, this person more.
They all deserve the same
No,
respect.
they deserve respect, but some people, they don't understand if you don't tell them
Like Moshe did just
black
the
and
place.
white.
Yeah, you will not get it.
100%.
That's the problem.
There's very difference between guidance and rebuke. When a person's needs to be guided and say to them, this is how you do it, and you're explaining and they need to be explained, that's fine. You have to speak black and white and say to them everything. Rebuke is more telling somebody that they've done something wrong, looking back in hindsight, and that's different. So even if somebody's done something wrong, and even if they need explaining for the future, you don't have to rub in how bad what they did was and how stupid what they did. Sure, who of you grew up with your mother saying to you, how could you have done that? How stupid could you have been? What were you thinking? You remember such a sentence? Everyone's looking at me like, my mother never said that to me. Well, then you all have amazing mothers. What can I tell you? Most parents that I've seen, even here in the shul, is the parents saying to the kids, were you so stupid? Or what were you thinking? And all these things. That's talking down to a person. That's making them feel like they're nothing. So the first thing that we're saying over here is that there needs to be respect. If you want to rebuke somebody, you have to have true respect for them, and they have to feel it. And what respect means, and again, it's not necessarily about hinting to the fact that they did something or telling them explicit. That's not relevant. That's what we see over here. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu found a way to show respect to the people. Respect can mean many things. The main thing is that it means that you're trying to fix and help and not just point out what they're wrong. I once heard a story about a guy, he was studying art. He was studying to be a painter. And he was a very good painter, and he had a mentor, a teacher. And when he finished his course and he was ready to go out and paint, his teacher said, but there's one more thing that you need to learn. So he said, okay, what is it? He said, come, I want you to choose one of the paintings that you've made, and we're going to go to the mall together with the painting. So they took this painting, they went to the mall, and they positioned it in the center of the mall on an easel. And they put a sign next to the easel, and they said, if anybody sees anything wrong with the painting, please put a small cross on that place which is wrong, so that we can fix it. They left it and they came back the next day. What do you think that they saw on the...
All covered in crosses.
The whole painting was covered with crosses. From beginning to end, every person walked past it. The nose is crooked. The sun is not bright enough. The color is not sharp. Everyone put crosses everywhere. So when the student came and he saw that this was the reaction to his painting, he was so despondent, he was so upset. He said to his mentor, if that's the case, then I'm giving up. Look at me. I'm such a bad painter. Nobody, thought it was good. I've got such a lot of criticism. So his mentor said, no, 1 second before you do that, let's try this experiment again one more time tomorrow. So I want you to take the same painting, or similar painting, and we're going to take it to the mall. So they took a similar painting, they put it in easel in the center of the mall, and they asked people to comment. But this time they did one small change. You know what they said? Instead of saying, what you see wrong, put across, they said, whatever you see wrong, please fix it. And they put a box of brushes and a whole box of colors. And they said, it's there for you, please fix what you think is wrong. They came back the next day. How many people do you think picked up the brush and the painting and they fixed what they thought was wrong?
0.
Good morning.
Good morning,
0. Why? Because what does this teach us?
It's very easy to...
It's so easy to say to somebody, this is wrong, what you've done is no good, criticize, and move on. But if somebody really cares, and the criticism is not just to knock the other person, but the criticism is there to help and to build and to fix, then nobody's interested. Suddenly everyone disappears. So what we're saying over here is that you have to respect the person, and respect means that the person feels that you're coming to fix and be participant, share in fixing, not just telling them what's not good. That's the first thing. That's what we see over here from Moshe Rabbeinu when he rebukes the Jewish people. Another thing that we see. Let's have a look at the second thing which we see over here, and let's see if you can figure out what's the second ingredient when it comes to rebuking. So if you look at verse 3 and 4, the Torah tells us, and again we're talking about this rebuke that Moshe Rabbeinu is telling the Jewish people. It happened that in the 40th year, page 1123, happened in the 40th year on the 11th month, on the first of the month, Moshe spoke to the children of Israel shortly before his passing and rebuked them about everything that God had commanded him on their behalf. Moshe waited to rebuke them until after he had, okay, we have the answer here, and I see in the brackets. Until after he had proven the military might, defeating the powerful Sichon, the king of Amorites, who lived in the powerful city of Heshbon, and powerful Og, king of Bashan, who lived in the powerful city of Ashtaroth, Kanaim, in the kingdom of Israel. So here the Torah is telling us that before Moshe Rabbeinu rebuked them, something happened. What's the thing that happened before he rebuked them?
He fought the
That's
king
right.
of
He
Amorites.
fought the king of Sichon and the king of Bashan, etc. Why is this relevant? Why is the Torah telling us that before he rebuked them, he did it
Because the Jewish people
after he killed these kings? Yeah, why?
he has the Jewish people, they admire him, they recognize his strength, his wisdom. So
Credibility.
That's a good point. So Yael is saying that the reason why you follow, what Yael is saying, she's saying why did he rebuke them only now after he killed Sichon and Heshbon, etc. Because they see him, they look up to him, right? He's a person, he did all of this. I ask you a question. Is this Moshe Rabbeinu's credibility? Is this Moshe Rabbeinu's power? Is this his geniusness? The fact that he gave them the Torah and taught them for 40 years, that's not credibility? He split the sea. He took them out of Egypt, the 10 plagues. He gave them water. This all is not good enough. After he does this, now you have the right to rebuke. But before, no.
It needs to, I think they will listen to him more. It feel more like them, like more like has doing
human things.
not like someone who's like not
Sitting on a high horse.
Yes,
They're never.
Yeah, of course. But can you say about Moshe Rabbeinu that he's sitting on a high horse?
no, that's why
No.
it's doing like he's in the wars. And it's
Yeah, but all these things they did also before in the wars, or when they fought with Egypt, and then when they sinned with the golden calf, and he goes on the floor and he cries to Hashem, he says, "What am I going to do with these people?" And every time when they're having arguments, battles, he's sitting, he's teaching. I don't think you get an image of Moshe Rabbeinu of being a person, on a high horse, and then just before he rebukes him, he says, let me go down to the people and.
But he did it also all together. That he was not the only one.
What do you mean? Do you mind closing the door?
He include them also as a unity, like the leader of the unity. Before they used to tell
Pull it
him,
hard once. That's
to
it.
tell him bad thing because they thought like he was feeling hard because only.
I don't think anybody ever felt Moshe Rabbeinu never gave the feeling. The Torah tells us Vaish
No, but the
Moshe
people-
Anav Meod.
Yeah, but the people
He was a
would
humble
say-
person.
Yeah, but the people would say bad things to him.
So now they're not going to say because he did this.
Because I think they have the feeling of this unity as
The point is,
I'd say you just choose a time for your battles. If you have something like this big going on, you won't really, at the same time, talk to your people and bring them also some.
no, but the
harder
Torah is
lessons.
saying over here that before he rebuked them,
Uh-huh.
he went and he fought a battle on their behalf. What the Torah is actually teaching us is that before you rebuke somebody, you need to show them love, you need to show them care, and it needs to be close proximity. Meaning the fact that you did something for somebody in the past may show love, but if you're now going to rebuke them, that may seem the opposite. They need a concrete, close reminder that you care about them and you love them. Obviously Moshe Rabbeinu did all those things to the Jewish people, but they were history, they were in the past. He's going to rebuke them now. He needs to do something good for them now. It's like you think of a child and a parent. If you want your kid to say, you say to your kid, "Does mommy love you?" I don't know, maybe, yeah. You go to the shop, you buy them an ice cream. Give them the ice cream. Does mommy love you? What they say? Yes. I love you. What? Because I just bought you an ice cream. What about the fact that I gave birth to you? I carried you for 9 months in my, hard pregnancy. That's not enough love?
But children won't have it in their
Exactly.
mind.
Take an older child. Forget about pregnancy. Tell a child, do I love you? No. Give him an ice cream. Say, yes. 1 second. Where did you sleep last night? In my house, under my roof. What did you eat this morning? Breakfast that I made for you. What did you eat last night? Supper. Who washed your clothes? The clothes that you were wearing. Everything I do, I go to work. Why? For me? To provide for my family. And yet the kids, they don't appreciate that.
No, because for them it's normal. They don't know anything else. They think the
Yeah,
house is
but
there. Half the food is normal that you come on the table.
So yes, and maybe also the ice cream's normal, right? They don't, because you've done something for them. They appreciate. Hello, it's not even with children; it's with parents too. With adults. You could say to your husband, a man could say to his wife, "Do you love me?" or vice versa. I don't know. I'm not sure. They come to buy you a watch or a ring or I don't know jewelry. He loves me. Yeah, I know. He bought me flowers. He loves me. That's why he loves you. And everything else, the commitment, the hard working. I'm not going into, everybody knows what their spouse does for them or what they do for their spouses. And yet there is an action that triggers and says, he loves me. She loves me. So Moshe Rabbeinu realized, of course, I've done all these things for the Jewish people. But that's not on the forefront. That's in the hard drive. It's in the back memory. Before you rebuke something, do something tangible, which is now, which they relate to. And that's the key. You want to rebuke somebody, Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching him, it doesn't matter how much you love them. It doesn't matter how much you've done for them and how much you've shown your care and everything. That's all in the past. Do something for them now, which is recent, which is, in front of their minds, and then you can rebuke them. Which is not, it's once you say it, it's, like it makes sense, it's obvious, but when you come in to rebuke somebody, it's always apparent. It's not something that you will have remembered to do. So that's why here you have a teaching which is telling you, number 1, respect them. Number 2, love them. And love cannot just mean I love you in the sense of in general, but the love needs to be shown in a very physical, tangible way, which they can relate to right now. And then we have a third, an important thing, and perhaps even the most important, of the rebuke. You see, the Torah tells us over here that when is Moshe Rabbeinu rebuking the Jewish people? He's rebuking them after 40 years, 40 years after they've been in the desert. When did Moshe Rabbeinu pass away? Who knows?
About a month after this.
30 plus 37 days later. So Moshe Rabbeinu has been with them for 40 years. So for example, the golden calf, when did that happen?
Just before the Torah at Mount Sinai?
So how many years prior was that?
41.
No, they were in the desert for 40 years, so less than
40 years, 39.
39, whatever, the other things happened, 38, etc. So why is he telling them now? Have you ever told your husband or your son or your daughter, I want to talk to you? Yeah. Do you remember in 1948, we got married, whatever, in 2000. So in 2001, there was something I want to, speak to you about. Like, what? Now you're talking about them? Why is Moshe Rabbeinu waiting for all these years? So Rashi tells us that actually Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching us a very important message when it comes to rebuking. You got to choose the right time. The timing is key to everything. It happens to be that Moshe Rabbeinu felt that the rebuke he should tell them was before he passes away. Why? Because he said, if I tell them before and I live with them all these years, every time they see me they'll be embarrassed, etc. But this way he passes away, so it's okay, they can handle it for a few days and then that's it. And he actually learned this from Yaakov Avinu. When Yaakov Avinu rebukes his kids in Parashat Vayechi, he does it.
You know that he's gonna die.
Yes, because Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, you're not entering the land of Israel. And actually in last week's parasha, he said, Nekom nekmat b'nei Yisrael meta midyanim, achar te'asef el amecha. He says, do this final war and then you will die. So Moshe Rabbeinu, he knows he's dying. So because he's dying, he says, now is the right time. Like Yaakov Avinu, when did he rebuke his children? On his deathbed. I will do the same. We find also David HaMelech does the same later in the Tanakh. When he's passing away, he calls his son Shlomo and he tells him. Why? There's quite a few reasons. There's a good reason to do it when somebody's on their deathbed, because people take it face value. They don't say what's the agenda, what you're trying to achieve. I'm not trying to achieve anything. I'm leaving this world. Also, the embarrassment is less. But Moshe Rabbeinu, he picks his timing very, very carefully. He decides to rebuke them when he feels is the right time that they will get the message, and not that he's, equalized 1-1 with them. Oh, you did it, so now I've shown you and I've told you, etc. So I'm not saying, the message over here is not, okay, the next time you want to tell your husband something that you feel he should know, you wait till your deathbed. Yeah, that's not what we're saying over here. What we are saying is that you should choose the right time. And if it means that sometimes it means you're going to wait 6 months, so be it. If you're going to wait a year, wait a year. 2 years, it doesn't matter. If it's the timing which is important and the timing is lengthened, don't say, I'm not going to wait all this time, because if you're not going to choose the right time, it could be the most important message, but the person's not going to get it. Sometimes the timing is a person's going through a hard, emotional day. So you say, I'll wait till tomorrow. But sometimes it's not an emotional day, he's going through a whole hard period. The person, let's say, he's been fired from work and he still hasn't got a new job, and it's 6 months till he gets his new job. During those 6 months, it's not the right time to give somebody rebuke. The person is vulnerable, the person feels that he's not providing, whatever it may be. It's not the right time. And it could be something which is totally nothing to do with his job, but something else. But the person is not a receptacle to receive what you're trying to tell him. The person now needs support. He doesn't need to be told off. Again, if you go back to principle number 1, and that is that you want to help the person. If you really want to help the person, then you also got to choose the right timing. If a person is not choosing the right time and he's saying, yeah, but it's important I say now because I need to get it off my chest, then it's very selfish. It's about you, it's not about the other person. So really we have over here 3 important messages over here. Number 1, respect. Number 2, love. And number 3 is the right timing. You talk about the respect. We mentioned at the beginning. We then said that it's got to be out of love, which means that you care. There was once a guy in shul that he was telling off the other person for not standing up in the prayer. In the synagogue, you have certain times where you sit, certain times you stand. Not everybody knows when you have to stand, when you have to sit. It's not obvious to people that don't come all the time. So one guy was sitting down, and he didn't stand up for the prayer where you need to stand. So the guy sitting next to him, he said, "Get up, why are you sitting down?" And he embarrassed him publicly. Okay, the guy was everyone. So he stood up and he prayed. After the service, the man was, very ashamed that he'd been rebuked in front of him, and he left. So the rabbi called over the guy who rebuked him. And he said, you just told this guy that he shouldn't be sitting, he should stand up. He said, do you know that this guy's been sitting at home for the last 6 months because he doesn't have a job? He said, did you tell him to stand up, to go and find a job? Did you help him? Did you help him stand up when he needed standing up on his 2 feet? That you weren't there for him. But because there's a prayer or not a prayer that he didn't stand up, that's where you know how to rebuke him. If you love a person, you care for a person, how can it be that for 6 months you don't even know what the person's problem is? That wasn't rebuke, caring for the person to stand up. Because if that was caring for the person, then you'd help him stand up on his feet when he needs it most. So you got to be so careful. There's a story about the previous Chabad Rebbe when he got his immunization. Today, immunizations is something which everyone receives, everyone knows. Then it was quite relatively new technology and so on and so forth. And he went to get his immunization, and he was really, amazed. The doctor went to the sink, and he washed his hands with soap, as the doctor does. Make sure that he has clean hands. Then he took some alcohol, he put it on some cotton buds, and he rubbed it. And then finally, after all of that, he took the needle and he put it in. So the Rebbe was watching it very carefully, and after he left, the Rebbe said, wow, he said, I learned so much about rebuke. Why? Because a needle in the person's hand is like a rebuke. When you rebuke somebody, it's like you're sticking a needle in their hands, right? But he said, look what the doctor did. First, he went and washed his hands. What does that mean? He first made sure that he himself is clean. How many times do we go and rebuke somebody else, but we ourselves suffer from the same issue? So what are you telling somebody off if you yourself you haven't washed your hands, you're not clean from it? Then number 2, he said, he put some alcohol on his hand. He rubbed it. He's quite white because he wanted to make sure that it's clean and that no dust goes in. Because if dust goes in, then instead of helping the person, it's worse. So before you rebuke somebody, did you first, make sure that their hand is, ready, prepared, show them the love, they care. And only then you make the press to do the prick. So if many times people are saying, I don't understand, I tell this other person, I'm sharing with them, I tell my husband, I tell my son, they don't listen to me, they don't understand, they repeat it. Maybe the problem's not them, maybe the problem's you. Maybe the problem is that you're not telling them off with the right rules. What's the right rules? You haven't shown them any love before you've done it, you're not speaking up to them, you're not respecting them, you're not showing them their value, and you're not choosing the right times. And by the way, even if 2 of the 3 are there, it doesn't help. If you respect somebody, love a person, but it's the wrong time, it doesn't help. If it's the right time, but you speak lowly to the guy, make them feel like they're zero, like they're worth nothing, then it's also not going to help. And if they don't feel that it's coming from love, it doesn't help. You've got to have all the 3. I'll share with you another story from the previous Rebbe. There was a rabbi who was called Rabbi Gordon, and he was a rabbi in New Jersey. And in those times, it was in America, and Yiddishkeit wasn't like it is today. It was much more liberal, and it was so much harder to pass authentic Judaism to people and help them move and take them in the right journey. So he went to the previous Rebbe and he said, Rebbe, I'm a rabbi of a shul, and I feel that when I'm talking to the people, the message is not passing on. I don't know how to tell them. It's nice to tell them fluffy, lovey-dovey things, but I want to help them and give them things that they really need to move, to tell them the truth. How do I do it? So the Rebbe said to him, the previous Rebbe came from Russia, and he said to him, have you ever been to the banya? Anybody knows what's a banya? Russians know what's a banya.
It's a sauna, but like...
Moroccans over here, it's called a hammam.
Ours is dry and we use branches to
and you
take out.
Also in the hammam they use the branches, right?
I don't know, I don't know.
That one is it's more humid.
It's with
Sauna is more dry now.
It's dry now.
Yeah, the is wet.
Maybe it's not.
Yeah, but also in the banya, it's also you can have a bit of liquid, you sweat, so
You sweat a lot.
sweat. So the rabbis couldn't understand why is the Rebbe telling him, have you ever been to banya? It was the last thing that he'd expect from a Rebbe to discuss with the rabbi. And he said, yeah, I'm aware, I know what's the banya. So the Rebbe said to him, how does it work? He said, tell me. So he said, well, the people, they go into the banya and they have like these stairs, like you see in a sauna. First you sit on the low stair in order to warm up. Then once you've already warmed up, you then go to the higher step. And then you go to the higher step and you're literally schwitzing, like you're sweating away. He says, okay, and then what happens? Because when you're on the top step and you're really sweating, there's a guy over there and he has like branches in his hand and he whips you on the back. And the Rebbe says, what do the people do? Do they complain? He says, no, they go, give me another one. And if he's good, they give him a tip and they give me more. So the Rebbe said, okay. He said, now I have a question. He said, imagine the same people in the banya, in the hammam, sauna. The next day, they're walking in the street, and the guy's got, his jacket on, his tie, he's going to work. Suddenly he sees the guy from the sauna with the whip, and he's got the branches, and he walks up to him in the street, and he whacks him on the back. What's the guy going to say? Give me another one, you're going to give him a tip. What's he going to say to him? You're crazy, get off of me, I'm going to call police. Why? Yesterday you were so happy and you said, it's amazing, give me more, make it stronger, I'll give you a bigger tip, and today no. He said, Rabbi said the difference is that in the banya, in the sauna, you first warm him up. When you warm somebody up, then you can hit them and they'll accept it, and then they'll say, give me more. So you can't come to your shul and just tell the people, you need to do this, you need to do that, be a prophet of doom. But if you warm them up, you show them love, you show them care, you show them concern, you build up their respect, their dignity, they feel that you have care for them, they feel the warmth that you have for them, then you can tell them everything. Not only they won't be upset, but they'll say to you, Rabbi, tell me more. What else do I do in order to achieve my greatness in Yiddishkeit and come close to Hashem? So therefore, the point is, as we see from here, from this week's Parashat Devarim, something very, very important. And that is, rebuke is good. Rebuke's important. Rebuke is even, as we said, the halacha you've got to do. But just because there's a halacha to rebuke, that doesn't mean you can say to somebody, it says in the law, I need to rebuke you. Right, come here, let me dump the truth on your head. It may be true, but you still don't dump it on them. You do all the things that we spoke about. And then you'll see that the person will say, wow, this is amazing, give me more. But I still want to speak about one final point before we conclude. Because in a few of the shiurim recently, we've been, if you remember, connecting the parasha to the Pirkei Avot of that week. Because, as we said, every single Shabbat during the summer months, we say Pirkei Avot. We study Pirkei Avot. And we're on this third cycle now. And we're studying Pirkei Avot, and we're up to chapter 2. So maybe bring the blue book a second. It says in chapter 2 like this. Middle of page 276. Literally in the middle, and it says like this. Rabbi Eliezer said, "Let the honor of your fellow be as dear to you as your own, and do not easily be angered." So the first part, what's he saying in Hebrew? It says, "Yehi kevod chavercha chaviv alecha keshelcha." What does that mean? Yehi kevod chavercha chaviv alecha keshelcha. May the honor of your friend be as dear to you as your own honor. How do you understand this sentence?
Like you want to be treat others as you wish to be treated.
Huh?
Treat others as you wish to be treated.
Yeah, right. Many people don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to be dishonored. Private, public, it doesn't matter. So it's like over here, just like you don't want to be embarrassed. Also, you shouldn't embarrass somebody else. Treat somebody else with the same dignity, with the same honor. This is the simple way of understanding this Mishnah. But as with all texts in the Torah, there is depths and more meaning in everything which is said. And recently I discovered a deeper dimension to this text, which I think is very important to share with you when we're learning the laws of rebuke. And why? Because up until here we've spoken about how to rebuke. What about how to receive rebuke? Is there any guidance about that? You see, even if somebody loves you, cares for you, picks the right timing, the person who is receiving the rebuke also has to have something. And what is that thing? So of course it's easy to say to somebody, be quiet, listen, take it in, appreciate. That's great. That shows of maturity. It shows of no ego, which is all very special. But how many people are holding that? How many people can say, yeah, I have zero ego, and if somebody tells me off, I say, yeah, thank you very much, everything's good. Remember we asked at the beginning, most people, they get upset when they're rebuked. Most people, they get turned off. Some people, they get rebuked, they won't even speak to you for the rest of their life because you told them something. So what is it that we can work on ourselves to be better recipients of rebuke? And of course, it's important. You can say to somebody, yeah, just take it and move on. What's something that we can really work on ourselves as a person? And it's great, even regardless of the rebuke. And that is from the Pirkei Avot of this week's parasha, the one that we just read. Because the simple meaning of it is Yehi kevod chavercha chaviv alecha keshelach, which means may the honor, the respect to somebody else be the same like you respect yourself. But the problem with this explanation is, what happens if I don't respect myself?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was
So
thinking.
then does that mean I can disrespect other people? Right? It says, if it wanted me to just respect people, it would say, respect other people. But it doesn't. It says respect people like you respect yourself. That's taking the assumption everyone respects themselves. I'm saying just like you respect yourself, respect others. But a person may say, look, I just got permission. I don't respect myself. I don't respect you either. That wouldn't make sense. So therefore, the deeper meaning is like this. How much does a person respect themselves, generally speaking? I know that we use the expression, I have self-respect, etc. But you know the word kavod. What is kavod? Kavod is saying the kavod over here. It's not talking about, inner dignity. It's talking about kavod. Kavod means like, when a person gets accolades. You know the word accolades?
No, what it means.
Huh?
Never heard of it.
Hazel, how would you explain that word?
Awards.
Awards, honor, kavod. Like when people say, this person's been honored, right? He's gonna stand on a podium and he's gonna get the award of the year. His name's gonna be, and we're gonna do, removing the veil over the name, type of kavod. When think of a person who is an artist, a singer, a play, they want the kavod, they want the people to cheer them and tell them how great they are. Now, what would you think of this situation? A guy is a footballer or a singer, it doesn't matter. He just finished his game And he goes home and he looks in the mirror and he says, look how I played, look how, what do you think, is that normal? No, why not? Because most people, they don't treat the respect that they give themselves to be considered respect. Right? Somebody else gives me the respect, it's kavod. But to give myself kavod, what's the big deal? So for most people, self-respect in the sense of accolades and honoring oneself is irrelevant. I don't give myself respect because I don't need to give myself respect. This respect I'm going to give myself, the clapping of the hands I'm going to give, is meaningless to me. It doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't make me feel any better if I look in the mirror and I say, Kol HaKavod, right? It's very rare. Maybe there are some people because you have everything in every type. But for most people, they're not going to feel better with themselves if they look in the mirror and they say, look, I'm so amazing. Nobody's going to go to the shop and buy a trophy and say, right, I'm going to hand this trophy to myself. I deserve this trophy, right?
Yes.
Why? Because if I give myself a trophy, it's insignificant. It doesn't mean anything. So what the Mishnah is saying just like kavod of yourself means nothing to you, the kavod, the respect of the other person should also mean nothing to you. Think about it. Accolades for yourself, clapping your hands for yourself doesn't mean anything. So why should somebody else clapping their hands mean something to you? If me, myself, which most people love themselves and feel have importance, and that doesn't mean anything. I'm not going to value myself anymore by the fact that I clap my hands for myself. So I'm also not going to value myself anymore by the fact that you clap your hands for me. That's what gives me my value. The fact that you clapped your hands for me, that you gave me a trophy, that you said I'm worth something. That's where my worth should come from. The fact that somebody has or has not recognized my achievements. So what the Mishnah is saying is, the honor that your friend gives to you, what your friend is going to give to you, should be the same as it gives to yourself. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Just like for yourself means nothing, so to somebody else it means nothing. And what it's actually telling is something very deep. Because if a person's worth comes from somebody else giving them accolades or telling them that they're great or not, then we become hungry for it. We become thirsty for it. And if we're not getting it, then we feel deprived. Yeah. But if anyway it means nothing to me, I don't need it. I find my worth from my study, from my mitzvot, from my acknowledgement of what I'm doing, from my relationship with Hashem. I don't need another human being to tell me my worth is worth or it's not worth. Again, this is not the simple meaning, but this you can see it in the words. It's a deeper meaning. Mm-hmm. And what it's telling us is that in order to have a healthy self-equilibrium, in order to have a good self-esteem, we shouldn't pay too much attention to people praising us. We shouldn't yearn it. We shouldn't wait for it. And even when it comes, we just, okay, thank you. You thought, brush it off and move on. Don't give it so much importance, because if you give it today importance, then tomorrow you're going to suffer.
We need to be careful also with the kids. Because
exactly.
If you start praising them for everything, oh, well done, you brush your teeth by yourself, I don't know.
Yeah.
Then they get used to it, and when you stop.
One of the biggest people that suffer from most are big stars. I think Elvis Presley, he died from depression. And why? Because he would go to big concerts, and he had 80,000 people all cheering for him, and everyone telling him, that was today, okay, tomorrow wake up. No, what's today? Where's my fans? Where's my love? And he was just living from, one cheering to the next cheering. And in between, he didn't have it. So he was taking drugs, he was taking different things to make him feel good. Don't make external people allow you to feel good or not. And why is that important? So first of all, it's very important, as you were saying, with kids and so on and so forth. Our self-worth shouldn't come from outside. Praising shouldn't make us feel bad or good. It doesn't do anything to me. I'm very comfortable in my own skin without your praising. Thank you so much. If a person learns to build such a good feeling, then even when you rebuke me, I also won't feel bad. Your praises didn't make me, and your rebuke didn't destroy me. My self-worth doesn't come not from your good words and not from your bad words. So when a person has that self-resilience, then somebody rebukes you, you say, thank you very much. I take the point. I hear what you're saying to me because that or this needs to be fixing. But I don't feel down, I don't feel dejected, I don't feel negative because you've told me something, because I never thought that my worth comes with you appreciating me or not appreciating me, you telling me I'm good or not telling me I'm good. It's totally irrelevant. And that's something which is very important for a person to build within oneself. Not only when you're being rebuked, because then it's very hard. That's the time you're on the test. It happens long before. It happens now, when everything's great. The next time somebody praises you, the next time somebody says you're amazing, brush it off. Don't say, wow, I feel so good. Thank you so much. Now I feel good. Your worth doesn't come from that. Hashem gives you your worth. Your neshama gives you your worth. You within yourself, with your private conversations, maybe with your spouse, whatever. But it's not the fact that people, say, this gun is the best gun in the world. Amazing what you've built. Or this lawyer, wow, the way he knows how to fight the case. Or this footballer, or this rabbi, whatever it is. You don't need it. Don't build your self-esteem from it. And then you won't be upset when someone tells you off. So here you have really, both from the Pirkei Avot and from the Parashat, here, a very good package of how to give rebuke and how to receive the rebuke. And as I said at the beginning, to learn about it is very nice, interesting, and makes a lot of sense. But applying it, that's really a whole different job. So both the second part, learning how to get your self-confidence not from outside, is very hard, but you can work on it. And the same thing when it comes to rebuke. Normally we work out of knee-jerk reaction. We don't think. We just boom, tell the person, stop, think, plan it, and then you will see that will be so much more effective. I just want to conclude and say that we're now in the 3 weeks. And the 3 weeks is the time that we mourn the destruction of the second temple. And why was it destroyed? Because sinat chinam. People, it says baseless hatred. And what does it mean, baseless hatred? It doesn't necessarily mean that somebody walk up to a guy in the street and hit them on the head. That's not baseless hatred. That's pure cruelty. It means that people didn't know to go beyond the letter of the law when it comes to love. When people did something bad to them, so they hated them and they rebuked them and they did all these type of things because they had a justification. They didn't say, how can I love this person and see how to help him, to make him a better person. And that's why we lost the temple. And the way that the third temple will be rebuilt is through Ahavat Chinam, which is unconditional love. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Caring for the other person, but doing it with love. Saying, even though he may misbehave and he doesn't deserve, I'm still ready to love, still ready to give, still ready to care about this other person. So not only do we learn to rebuke in the right way, but we also make mending the world in a better place, ultimately bringing a Mashiach and rebuilding of the third temple. May that happen speedily in our days.
אמן, תודה רבה.